Rightio, nearly there. Must be Thursday night, brother. Oh, and there we go on that little action. And we're good to go. 19 seconds, and the game starts now. All right, everybody, Thursday night, live, ready to go. Game starts. Look at that. I get to listen to myself on echo.
On a 5-second delay.
5-second delay. So we know what the delay is. That's fantastic. Councillor, good morning.
Yes, well, it's official.
What's official?
I just went down to the council chambers and took an oath or an affirmation.
An oath or an affirmation?
Yeah,
That's
I took
terrifying.
the affirmation. But anyway, some people swear and some people don't.
I swear often.
Yeah, well, you would have had to swear and take an oath.
Yeah, right. I don't know how that would have went down, but anyway.
Yeah, you would have said it.
So you're now officially, once again, a second term. Well, you're now officially a second term councillor. So you're once again formally a councillor at Temora Shire Council.
Yeah, it's only come in 2017, this requirement to actually make some declaration. And it's a bit superfluous because you've only got to look at the sector to know that it's having no impact.
Yeah, right. Yes. I don't know. More bullshit to fill out people's day, I assume. So how did it go? Was there a good crowd?
8 out of the 9 councillors was there.
Who missed out?
Brenton Hawken wasn't there. He's away travelling for work at the moment. So
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. People do have lives outside of council nonsense, I assume.
Mate, we've all got lives. I'm tired from mine at the
moment. You've been running wild. Well, you better do your disclaimer because yours is far more important as far as these things go than anything that I'm going to disclaim.
Well, as of about 6 p.m. tonight, I'm officially a Temora Shire councillor. My name's Anthony Irvine. I'm officially a Temora Shire councillor as of 6 p.m. tonight. However, the views expressed here are those of Anthony Irvine and not those of Temora Shire Council.
That's very good. Good boy. You don't want to be speaking on behalf of Temora Shire Council.
No, because we've
may take offence.
Oh, they'll take offence. They'll take a bloody gate. They'll take everything. No, it's an absolute hoot because I've actually had a code of conduct last term of council for a breach of the media policy, and we had other codes of conduct as well. I'm just thinking of what I've got in front of me and what I've actually just signed up for.
How many are you going to get this term?
Oh, I don't know. 4's. Look, I'm telling you, it's a bit like
it's a record.
It's a bit like Penrith.
Yeah.
You know, it's unheard of in the modern era, and very unlikely to be repeated again.
Yeah, right. Well, my only disclaimer is I'm Dean McRae, and I say exactly what I think, when I think, how I think it. You may not always agree with me, but you certainly get a raw and uncut honesty regarding uncircumcised. You've been bloody spying on me again. Careful, people get excited with some of that sort of stuff. They're a little bit very excited. Raw, uncut. And I'm very, very glad that I'm not on council after hearing the rigmarole and the rundown of what you've got booked over the next month. I reckon I'd probably already be on suspension.
Well, the worst part is that, like, I'll give you an example of what I've got to look forward to over the next few weeks. So as of tomorrow, now that I've taken the oath or the affirmation.
The affirmation, goodness.
I'm allowed to pick up my iPad.
Oh, well, give me an iPad. What do you do with your iPad?
Put it in the cupboard.
Put it in the cupboard? You don't play like Fortnite or
I use my phone.
Yeah, right.
I don't need an iPad.
Yeah, I
can save some money there. Anyway, some people have to have an iPad. And of course, to be fair, everyone gets an iPad, blah, blah. And then I get to pick up the business papers for next Thursday's council meeting. So 7 days from today is our first council meeting of the new term.
Yeah, right, okay.
Monday is going to be an interesting day because we've got councillor induction training Monday.
Indoctrination training?
Well, some would call it probing.
Probing?
By aliens. I don't know. It's sort of all sorts of
things.
Yeah,
right, okay. Again, I'm just so far in. I reckon I've had 3 suspensions already if I was elected to this show.
Well,
because my answer would be I'm busy. I've got shit to do.
Well, this is the whole thing. It all seems to be geared up to suit council officers and others, not the people who actually of the working class who've got to try and keep a roof over their heads and get some shit done when the sun's up. So Monday is basically taken up between 9 and 3:30 with what can only be described as a very exciting itinerary, kicking off with local government.
Oh, good.
Governance, including legislative requirements, roles and responsibilities, etc., etc., etc.
Well, I have a feeling we've covered an awful lot of these things
Well,
over the last few
I've
months.
covered a shit ton of governance, and I'm pretty
well versed in it, I'd reckon.
But I'm also disappointed in the poor governance. That's what we've spoken about on a number of occasions. So
absolutely,
I can only hope that this little primer on Monday is going to improve governance.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Then it's going to be followed closely by code of conduct and associated policies.
Oh, that'll be fun. You're an expert in that as well.
Well, I am, because I've been flogged up by four.
Four of them.
Like
same premierships. Yeah, that's right.
4 codes of conduct. Penrith get the back page. I get
the front page for your 4.
The front page, correct. We share. Now, followed closely by a little bit of a primer and induction, media and social media.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not very au fait with all that. I don't know how that interweb works.
Those interwebs, they're very, very scary places. Yes.
Yes. Then, of course, we've got a little decision making and the code of meeting practice. Yeah, right. It's all about the code, isn't it?
It's all about the code. They love that code.
There's a code.
They love these things.
There is a code.
Yes, mafia.
Don't break the code.
Don't break the code.
Then, of course, we've got
code.
Councillor expenses and facilities. Well, and I don't think I cost the council. I didn't put one claim in for costs.
You didn't?
In my term.
No, come on, you must have.
No.
Surely.
At one stage, I asked them to obtain some legal advice on my behalf.
Yeah.
Because our friend at the newspaper, Propaganda Pete, had made a few statements that I thought were a little bit not quite right.
Yeah, which that's not surprising at all. Our mate at the paper's college. Best I can assume or come up with is he seems to just put whatever the hell.
But my fellow councillors rejected that request.
Oh,
so they were quite happy for Pete to be spouting bullshit and not giving me the opportunity to actually.
Pete's a sped. Sorry, Pete. I know. I'm sure you're going to watch this at some stage. You're a sped, mate.
Well, he's sped. He's a sped force.
Absolutely. Oh, hang on. No, Albo got in trouble for saying somebody is full of Tourette's. Maybe I'll get in trouble for accusing Pete for being bloody a sped. Well, unfortunately, unlike Albo, I don't backtrack on things like that. And there is a significant difference between you, sir, and the disabled. Is they've got a legitimate justification for some of their ineptitude. You, sir, are apparently normal, but you like to behave as if you were not. Therefore,
mate.
You're a sped.
It's a really vicious and vindictive child trapped in an adult's body, although it is child-sized.
Oh, I can be vindictive.
It's a child-sized body.
I mean, I can be vindictive. Yeah. Like I've got no interest whatsoever in taking my foot off this guy's neck for the next.
I don't know how you can fit so much nastiness into such a small package.
I mean, I'm not losing any sleep over it, but if there is absolutely an opportunity to, proverbially, I have, give him a little touch up. Well, no skin off my nose.
I actually had a conversation with his boss today.
His boss? Who's his boss?
Edward Higgins.
The mayor?
Edward Higgins.
Oh, sorry.
The owner of the CEO of the company that owns the paper.
Yeah, right. What paper's the company what's the company that owns the paper these days? It used to be Bradley and Sons or whatever it was.
I'm not sure. They've all got terms with something about media and group or something.
Of course. Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what the company's name is. It is.
So, what did you discover about this fine fellow? Or is he a fine fellow? Or
sounds like a.
Oh, they all sound great right up until you have to deal with them.
Sounds like a nice guy.
What was the nature of this meeting with Propaganda Pete and the Hit Job Herald's ownership? So if you're watching Mr. Higgins, your paper's shit, needs some work, needs a good clean up, tidy up, sort it out.
Yeah, if you want. Northeast Media was one of them. No, that's Greater Melbourne area. Blah blah blah. Let me find it. It's just the interweb, isn't it?
Oh, it's a very, very convoluted place, the interweb. It's like
Anyway.
government bureaucracy on steroids. Anyway, how'd you go with him?
They've got a heap of papers,
Hello.
and they seem quite passionate about newspapers.
Well, they're paying their bills. It's very easy to be passionate about something that's paying your bills, I assume.
So hopefully, over time, they can just have a look at
sack the shit ones and rebuild, burn it down, start again.
Yeah, because it's like everything. You can't sell shit.
So what were you talking to him about?
No, they've looking at some just some local changes in where they conduct their business and stuff like that.
Oh, right. So they want to come up here and have an interview with us and learn how
no,
at least an honest media organisation operates.
That was in my other life as a signage supplier.
A signage supplier?
So
a supplier, a purveyor of fine signs.
I thought it was very positive discussion and interesting to speak to someone far more mature and adult in their processes than Propaganda Pete.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think the paper's in good hands.
Look, for what's worth, I've still never met Propaganda Pete. I saw him that one time at band camp. Other than that,
no, he never came. He never came and shook your hand.
No, he didn't come up. Didn't want to talk.
No. I thought he would have wanted to meet you in the flesh.
You'd reckon he should.
It'd be like getting Ned Kelly's autograph.
Absolutely, it would be. Like, let's be realistic.
It'd be like Chopper Read.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't cut my own ears off. I probably should have. They're a bit pointy. They stick out a little bit.
Pete had you up there.
Look.
On the pedestal.
Oh, it's very, most of Australia's most wanted.
Okay, so that's where we're at.
Yeah, right. Very good.
So we're back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle. I reckon tonight should be a nice cruisy one, to be honest with everybody.
Well, I'm gassed. So
well, that's what I'm thinking. The big fella here's gassed. It's been a long week. There's been plenty to always go on, but there's an awful lot of councillors all over New South Wales who are settling back in. Locally, mate, politically I haven't done all that much. I've had quite a few phone calls from Libertarian guys who did get elected. The Libertarians did well when Liberal Party shit the bed.
Yeah, disgrace.
No, it wasn't a disgrace. It was an incompetence. That's just the absolute. It's the standard operating procedure for what is now the Liberal National Party.
Yes.
And I've said it a million times. If they did what it said on the original "We Believe" statement from the Liberal Party, if this was a party of menzies, I'd be more than happy to be swinging the bat for those guys at whoever needed it. But what this watered down, incompetent shit version of the Liberal National Parties these days, I've just got no time for whatsoever. And the council debacle was just more proof in the pudding. The council debacle around John Pizzuto down in Victoria, suing Moira Dooming because he hurt her feelings and said something about, I don't know, I think she said something highly audacious, controversial about men having penises and women having vaginas, and that women can't have penises. Pretty sure that was the gist of the whole shooting match. So as the Liberal Party leader of Victoria, he's suing his own MP because she holds such vicious and harsh, evil, far-right views that women don't have penises.
A devolution, isn't it?
Liberal Party's dead, mate.
Devolution.
The Liberal Party is dead. I
was listening to some interesting podcasts today about the Crusades and the wars that entailed, and I was also listening to some podcasts about the War of Independence in the US, and people seemed so much more intelligent, even though they had less technology.
Yes, I think technology's got a lot to do with
intelligence.
And they had natural intelligence and integrity to go with it.
Devolution, though.
Absolutely, we're all being dumbed down.
When you listen about these battles where people go into battle and they've got 2,000 guys and they defeat an enemy of 10,000 guys through a bit of boldness, a bit of daring do, good planning, the element of surprise, and just the ability.
And grapefruits the size of grapefruits.
Yes.
So let's be fair.
No shortage of grapefruits. Extra grapefruits.
The testicular fortitude is phenomenal.
Cannonballs.
Absolutely.
But
and then we're now led by a bunch of snivelling, spineless, witty,
Well,
gutless wonders
Again,
on both sides of the aisle.
I put my thesis to another person today, and they agreed wholeheartedly. I could end wars today. Let's take them back to how they used to be, where the person who starts it stands up the front.
Needs to be at the front of the line.
Now,
Napoleon was on the first horse charging into battle.
Yeah. George Washington led the charge.
Yes.
So, Albo, if you want to pick a fight with China, get up the front. And we'll follow you. Over the top, brother.
Albo's not picking a fight with China. He's too busy picking a fight on free speech.
Fixed bayonets, Albo, and we're right behind you.
Mate, look, the fact that the biggest issue people seem to manage, and this includes the LNP members of parliament, the biggest thing they seem to have been able to pull apart with Albo in recent times is the fact that he called Angus Taylor a bloody, accused him of having Tourette's. And then he spinelessly swung out 10 minutes later apologising, and the LNP are jumping up and down like he's cut their throats. If that's the only thing you've got to throw at this guy, you pricks are well and truly. It's clear, look, it's a one-state party. There's no difference between the two. The LNP barely fought against the voice to Parliament. Just so happens I got my vote no to the voice T-shirt on.
If we want transparency in government, they really need, instead of wearing a necktie, they just need to wear a price tag.
A price tag. Who owns you and who are you affiliated with?
I'm for sale. Yeah. I'm for sale for Exxon. $5 million bucks. Exxon.
Absolutely. And look, I'm a capitalist from all hell. Like hell, if you pay me, no problem at all. Like, I'm all for transacting business. Yeah. But
and the global corporates could sit there and they could have a silent auction.
No, maybe, the NASCAR jerseys and the American races and whatever, or even the rugby league jerseys now, it's across there. Yeah. Major sponsor of.
Yeah.
Owned by.
Yeah, if we saw BHP on their back and Santos down their sleeve and.
Cool, no problem. We know who you're representing. We know who's paying the bills.
Yeah.
It's all good, makes sense. But no, look, these guys, there's just, we're so devoid of any courage within our political leadership. Most of them should be thrown off bridges. I would lose no sleep over that.
Ship canning the orange guy, Trumpy Duck.
Yeah.
And look, he's on the edge of sanity.
Oh.
He's got a very tenuous grasp of sanity.
They're all like that, though.
The Donald, I did have to point out to that person that the Donald.
I agree wholeheartedly, Howard.
Donald was one of those people who actually spoke against COVID and some of the elements of COVID at the time.
Yeah. Look, but he also signed off on the warp speed vaccines and got really excited about that shit. So but he is not infallible.
No. But he actually he was one of the few that actually he tried the ivermectin and he tried the
a few of the things that have now been proven to have worked quite effectively.
Certainly weren't as were equally as effective as the vaccine.
Yes.
So I think that's probably if they had a placebo effect, that would equal greater than or equal to the effectiveness of the vaccine.
Yeah. And look, and I've got a lot of friends, as you know, that are hardcore politicos, right? I've spent a lot of time really deep in that space. And some of these guys absolutely worship at the Isle of Trump. Now, I'll wear a Trump hat, and I'll...
That's just because you don't like people and you want to fight people.
Yeah. No, not all people. Some people for sure. But, but I certainly don't worship at the feet of Trump. I thought some of his gun laws that he brought in for shit. He's made plenty. He did plenty of stupid policies while he was in there. And I can think of 10 Americans that I know personally who I'd rather you as the president. But when you compare him to at least the fact that he is a little bit off kilter and he does seem to be ruffling feathers with an intensity and a comfort level that's got the other side so wound up, and his own side in a lot of cases, makes me think he's on the right track.
There is something where they're going, hang on, Donald, if you keep doing this, the game will be up. We'll be exposed to the populace and we won't be able to do what we're doing. They are rather concerned.
Oh, look, well, and that's it. Hillary Clinton did an interview the other day where she was very, very concerned. If we don't cut down on all these freedom of speech laws, we're going to lose control. And then
Albo's idiot rapidly jamming his head up his own freckle in the same absolute rush.
They're all determined to shut anybody who's going to dissent with them right up. They don't want any of us having opinions. Albo, you're a douchebag. There you go. get me for misinformation. Come to my house. It'll be fine. Sort that out. You come on down. We'll talk about it. It'll be lovely. And I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky and he can disappear like Harold Holt did. That'd be all right. Harold Holt had the good sense as a prime minister to just
there's no sharks in the lake, but I think there's crocodile gators.
We could put some in there. Yeah. You know, like I'd make a special trip to get hold of some gators. I know I got some folks up in there too. You reckon you can bring a few down for me? You know, like it's pretty wild.
Swamp people.
Yeah, I'll run with it. Trump with RFK will have the ability to drain the swamp. Howard, as you know, mate, I hope so. I hope so. But again, just draining the American swamp's only one step, and you can't drain it completely because it's such a, you know,
surely
disgusting beast.
Within the next 3 weeks.
I hope.
Surely within the next 3 weeks. One of the US gun owners who can actually operate a firearm might have a crack.
Oh, look, who knows? It's
because we've had two
failed attempts on the bloke.
Like, and that's two chances that you're never going to get again.
Oh, look, it's just out of control. And you know, seeing somebody like RFK jump the fence, Tulsi Gabbard, she could easily be my next wife. She's phenomenal. You know, she's jumped over because the Democratic Party doesn't stand for what it once did. And in saying that, the Republican Party doesn't stand for what it once did. Just like over here, we've got a Labor Party that has never worked a day in its life.
A Labor Party who's ripping off the workers.
We've got a Liberal Party that wouldn't know liberalism if it bit
and a Liberal Party that's ripping off the workers.
Yeah, look, Howard, fresh stuff. God, I hope so. And Elon does seem to be certainly helping to do his bit. I agree. He's certainly. Look,
let's do our. It'll have to become a weekly thing. We've got to just check the markets.
I'll check the markets for the betting odds.
See how Trumpy Dumpty's tracking in the markets, because I know these people have still got their play lunch money. They hate losing.
Yeah, they don't like to lose. Look, it's still got to be really, really close on the books for sure, because there's no clear winner.
No, there's not. It's absolutely too close to call.
And I work hard not to get too tied down into the echo chambers. Like CPAC was on in Australia the other week, so I know Andrew Cooper who sort of set all that up, and a lot of the people who are attendees and speakers are friends of mine, and it's like I don't go up there because I know them all anyway. What's the point in spending a couple $1,000? I probably should support it, but you know, I sit there and I look at these guys and I try the Conservative something or other Alliance of Australia or whatever. It's a it's a big conference
of all right wingers.
Kind of, yeah. So it's a bit like all the left wingers where they all go and they have
no vegans.
Everybody in that room's all this way and everybody in that room's all that way.
They drive their V8 pickup trucks.
Some of them do, yeah, for sure. Some of them do. Liz Truss, the shortest reigning.
Not an undead dinosaurs.
Liz Truss was the shortest reigning British Prime Minister in history, I believe. She was one of the speakers.
Well, she came out and actually spoke against Albo's
misinformation laws. Yeah. Oh, she's got a little bit of gumption on her. Her claim to fame. Now, Propaganda Pete, you'll be shocked to learn. Her big claim to fame was she actually is mentioned in a newspaper article with me.
Really?
When I was trying to get the speed limits lifted along freeways and things like that. Oh, yeah, Howard's all over this. Conservative Political Action Conference. There we go.
Oh.
So, you
Thanks,
know,
Howard.
Mate, look, and I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of friends that go to it. It is good. It's
There's a couple of speakers in there, isn't there? Political and action in the same sense.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of us on the fringe of all this who are trying for better change, mate.
One thing we have learned over the trip is when you're in opposition, you can promise to put a Disneyland in every childcare centre. You can promise.
If elected to Temora Shire Council, I will bring Australia's Wonderland back, and I'm going to put it next to the Lake Centenary.
Yeah,
so I'm going to do that.
You can do that in opposition.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? So where we're at, what are the numbers?
The big orange guy he's actually firmed up a bit.
Okay,
he must have.
No, the ABC interview with Kamala the other day has absolutely smashed her.
Yeah, he might have had half a blue pill because the big orange guy's firmed up a bit.
Yeah, what do we say that?
$1.72.
Yeah, righto. Now what's
Kamala's gone out to $2.
Oh,
now there was cents in that.
There was cents in that last week. I think it was like 10 cents either way, 5 cents.
Yeah. There was it was only a matter of like 181, 183.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
So
I'd say that the big one for her has been, well, the hurricane that's just landed in Florida, and then they've all worked out that they've spent far more money to the Ukraine in the last 12 months than they were willing to give to the victims of
isn't that disgusting?
hurricane. Of course, it's disgusting.
But look,
It's
we've got
all
to support the weapons manufacturing industry
It's very important that
because they'll starve.
we can't have them going hungry, those bastards.
So those pricks in Florida are going to have to get extra tarps and tough it out.
They're just going to have to, take one
Because
for the country.
we need some bombs. We don't need tarps.
It is not what you can do, your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country. And you can struggle your ass off while we fund wars in other countries.
Propagate.
How many little brown people can we kill in foreign countries rather than feed our own? That
Absolutely.
seems to be.
And it is lighting up, isn't it? Like
it's
Israel are basically saying, "Watch us go and keep giving us bombs."
And then the Iranians jumped in and they went, "We're going to throw a few bombs too, because don't leave us out of this game."
Well,
and then you got old Joe sitting
there.
Well, that's been cooking for, I don't know, 400,000 years or whatever it's been.
I reckon.
And poor old Joe's sitting there, not sure what day it is, and they're going, "Joe, press the button." Going, "Joe, press the button," and he's going, "Oh, can I have an ice cream?"
The podcast about the Crusades actually probably start to delve into that.
Yep.
In terms of fighting wars.
For sure. Those sort of
Arab
areas
states
of the world, it's wild.
So it's been going on for a while, since about 1000 AD, and probably before. So it's just cooking away now.
It's only just starting.
It'll be tender by the time it starts.
It's gonna. I suspect it's gonna blow up.
Look, they'd like it.
And to be fair, the only US president in the last, I don't know, my certainly living memory that hasn't started some sort of a war has been Trump.
Isn't it funny?
It's amazing because they all advertise him. He's a warmonger and he's a lunatic and he's going to start this and he's going to start that. Have you seen any of Dave Chappelle's stuff on Trump? His commentary on Trump's brilliant.
Yeah, he's funny.
You know, look, he's well worth watching for sure. But some of the stuff he comes out of his
he got. What did he get? He got what's the term when you get blacked out?
He got blacklisted.
No, what's the term? It's
blackballed.
Cancelled.
Oh yeah. He's been cancelled a dozen times.
Yeah, he got cancelled.
He gets cancelled all the time, but then he's
on council.
You're on council being cancelled.
Yeah.
He's not on council, but he was being cancelled because
I've been cancelled, but not cancelled.
But no, Chappelle's coming. I wasn't that big on his TV show.
Oh,
but I'll tell you what, his stand-ups were fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he wails in.
He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He's like, "Trump's throwing out rap battles," like. Bring down fire and brimstone. It's like, whoa!
Yeah, but you want to watch out if he's been hanging with the rappers.
Well, no, the rappers don't want to talk to him anymore. Eminem's come out, said some dumb shit about.
He didn't.
Oh, you've been diddly diddled.
Yeah.
No Diddy. You know, like that's wild as well.
No Diddy.
I don't know. I reckon Ricky and Mickey would have been invited to some Diddy parties if he'd been in Australia. Surely.
Don't know.
You don't know? Graham doesn't rhyme with Diddy, so I don't know how to do that. I can't quite do that, but I might have got an invite, like whether they attended or not, anybody's guess. But I reckon if there was a Diddy party in town, they would have been very, very, only the finest of people get invited to those sort of things.
Yeah, you've got to be a certain type.
I'm not wealthy enough, good looking enough, famous enough. I mean, I'm a little bit famous, but I'm on the wrong side.
Probably not blackmailable enough.
I think that's where the problem comes in. Yeah. Yes, if you've tried.
Yeah,
it's always funny, because I
don't give try and blackmail you and you go, "You want that? All that."
All that. And when you've got nothing to hide anyway, you just don't really care. Like,
exactly.
But look, mate, the world's absolutely. You watch the news. Well, and I literally call
your mate Javier.
Javier Malay's batting well above average.
No, but he's battling.
What's happened to him this week?
He's starting to make noises about being friends with China.
Oh, right.
Because he wanted to dollarize Argentina.
He wanted to link them to the US dollar.
Get rid of the peso and everything else. And they've done that. But the reciprocal investment from the US hasn't materialized.
Ah, right.
And they're starving worse than ever.
Yeah, right.
So I
haven't seen that.
Harvey has looked at the figures, and the Chinese actually are quite prepared to buy
a certain percentage
by his business.
Yeah.
And he needs to sell some shit.
Oh, I bet he does.
They got cash money.
It's funny how that works.
So Javier is he's entertaining ideas of doing a bit of business with the Chinese because it seems to be mutually beneficial.
Funny how that works.
Far more so mutually beneficial than his agreements with the US.
Currently working with the US. Well, and
and look, Javier would love nothing more than a bidding war between China and the US for his custom.
As would we all, realistically, as business people.
But if the US aren't going to play the game, at least he'll have China and he'll have somewhere to sell his stuff. Now, there's been a massive big port complex built on the west coast of South America.
Right.
Which has cut about 30% off the travel times of getting South American produce to China.
Yeah, right.
Now, that's real.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And that comes into your equations regarding everything. So even Brazil for iron ore, which is a big competitor with Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Supplying Chinese steel mills.
Yep.
One of the big competitive advantages Australia always enjoyed was the proximity to China.
Yes.
And that lower freight cost. Well, if you're going to cut 30%, I think the projections were it went from about a 35-day turnaround, like trip, one-way trip, on a bulk carrier. It's back to 25.
Yeah, okay. Well, that matters.
That's real.
That matters.
That's real. When you're burning fuel on a big ship like that.
I'm still convinced that in the next 10 to 15 years, China's going to be buggered. Their one-child policy is going to absolutely bite them on the arse. And if they don't declare basically a world war and start taking over some countries with some women in it, they're pretty much toast in 10 to 15 years. They've got, 25 blokes per woman. Like, they're kind of buggered. The population decline's almost inevitable.
That sounds like
if Xi Jinping wants
Friday night at a country
hotel. Yeah, that's right. But I've got this. A lot of people talk to me about the Chinese. But China. If Xi Jinping doesn't declare his world war to take over, I don't know, everything in the next couple of years, I think they're buggered. They're going to run out of military age males. And I know in this gender diverse age of whatever the blue hell.
Maybe they'll just make them.
Well, look, if they've got the technology.
I'll call them robots.
If they've got the technology for that, that's perfectly plausible. But
robots everywhere. And drones.
They might have 8 billion people, but they're all going to be in their fucking 80s and 90s in the next 10 to 15 years. There's just going to be no...
Australia's any different?
No, we're retarded anyway in that scope. Like, in that space...
Yeah, because we're absolutely...
In that space, we are shit. That's right. And I'm not ragging off on our military. I do a heap of voluntary work for our military and our actual veterans.
Yes.
But as a country, we are bloody hopeless. Yeah. Like,
we've got a big backyard.
And we've got all these donkey politicians who are starting to jam this woke bullshit down our military. So even our hard-ass diggers are getting fed complete bullshit about... There was one there, they're not allowed to have, like, war or death-like insignias on their shit.
Right.
Like on their gear because, feelings and stuff.
Right.
And,
so when you're getting in the headspace where you've got to go and kill someone, you're not allowed to actually...
Mate, and that's the sort of bullshit that's going on. And
so what do you actually go and learn when you're in the military? Like,
mate, I'm not even sure anymore. I don't know.
Isn't that...
If any of my mates that are currently serving have recently served want to chime in with any of that information, either now or, over the coming days, like we'll see the comments or whatever when they pop up.
I thought one element of basic training would have been, like, if you're learning hand-to-hand combat, it's not to know and understand and come closer to your opponent, is it? Or is it to know and understand and come closer to your opponent and ultimately bring an end to their misery?
Well, you would think so, yes.
Yeah, so...
Well, it's just crazy, mate. And, and we're watching what's going on. We got all these Hamas protesters running around, and we've got the opposition side there.
That's the whole thing, and that's just where we're importing conflict.
And we are importing a lot of conflict, and I've made it pretty clear.
Look, obviously, Israel had a massive provocation, but even the US said to Israel when they blew everyone's stager up and blew their legs off and blew their hands off, and
you guys starting to get a bit gangster over there.
But the US said, "Okay, Israel, you've exacted some revenge here. Let's just cool it for a while." But no, they wouldn't.
No, Benji boy went, "Yeah, bullshit.
No, we're into them.
Yeah,
we're up them, and we're going to give them some more."
And I've said it before. I've got some really, really good friends. In fact, like Maya was in town the other day, and she's got family in that region that she's, really worried about. I've got another mate, Luco, who's got family sitting in those safety bunkers in Israel.
Yes.
So I get a really, I guess, both perspectives.
Well, this is another example.
But
I think Benjamin should be up the front.
Absolutely.
If Benjamin goes up the front,
big man, off you go.
If Benjamin goes up the front, I reckon.
And if his troops want to go with him and go over that wall,
to chill it out.
Absolutely. Shit, this guy hurts.
Yeah.
One of these pricks catches me, I'm in trouble.
If you get smacked really hard with one of their bullets, I bet it stings.
Look, I can only imagine.
It sting. Like
I'm sure there's a lot of people who have thought about, shooting me on various occasions. It hasn't happened, right? So I can't vouch for it.
Are you putting yourself in the same category as the Ronald?
No, God, no. But I'm sure there are people who have thought about it. Actually, I wouldn't mind betting people have thought about it with you too, don't worry.
No, I don't think people are that silly.
Oh, look, I don't know.
Because it's the same old story. How many times have you heard it? Don't take a knife to a fight. Because if you happen to drop that knife, more than likely, it's going to end up between your ribs and not the intended target.
Yes, if you're going to pull a weapon, you better make sure you're going to use it. Otherwise, you're absolutely.
And I think all of that
fair game.
I think all of it's a level of stupidity that hasn't descended upon us here yet.
Not to the extreme levels that it has in some of those countries.
And even in Australia, it's there was machete attacks and shit like that in shopping centres, and you're starting to go, hang on, we are importing a lot of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. But also as people's lives get devalued more and more,
and people are shit scared of the world, and they get into that headspace. And we've taken away all of the opportunities to actually work out who's who in the zoo just during our daily lives. Like, you don't need to fight, but you know who's the alpha male, and you know who's going to.
You know who's where and who's what and who's going.
And that used to get worked out
pretty
and other things.
Look, and there's no doubt that a certain amount of a drug epidemic have taken hold, and there's an awful lot of people running around on bloody ice and all these sorts of things. And it's funny because
they think they're Jesus crossed with Superman.
Well, I think when they're loaded up, they think they're all sorts of things. I mean, I don't know.
I think they do think they're Jesus crossed with Superman.
We've got that sort of shit going on, where people are leaning on those crutches as an everyday thing because life's pretty shit for a lot of people.
Well, too, and the bikies have got to get going. They're going to make.
Everybody's got to make a living. Everyone needs a drink, And it's funny. I mean, I take the legal side out of it. I would decriminalise most of that shit, and I'd turn it into a health problem as opposed to a criminal problem.
Apparently, the local constabulary visited a couple of purveyors of vapes and cigarette tobacco products.
And out of all the things going on in the world, I don't know that that's the most major thing in the world.
They did find that there was some tobacco products that
that hadn't been taxed effectively by our lords and masters
appropriately by the people who were taking care of us and taxing us,
protecting us and saving us with
protecting the 12% of the population.
So I mean that shit just tells you everything you need to know. People ask me about the drug legalization thing, and if you legalise, I'm not saying I'd legalise it. What I'm saying is I wouldn't make it a criminal offence if you're using whatever, right? You're a consenting.
There's always been arguments for making it a health problem and not a legal problem.
Well, and there's a lot of evidence that suggests that is a better way to deal with it. Now, there's a million arguments that go, oh yeah, but then what if they rob grandma? Still illegal to rob grandma.
Yeah.
If it's decriminalised to use the substance, they can't then use the substance as a Your Honour, I was high. No. Well, you robbed a grandma. I don't give a shit what you were on.
Decriminalising it to some extent demonetises it.
It takes out a lot of the black market.
Yes.
It takes out an awful lot of the gangster shit.
So, again, what are the outlaw bikie gangs going to do for a crust?
Well, hopefully
they'll have to revert to extortion and standover tactics.
Which, look, if I've got a choice of the current extortion and standover tactics by the Australian New South Wales government and the local councils when it comes to rates, taxes and whatever else, versus paying some prick on a motorbike,
to keep them away from you.
Still being extorted. I don't know which both organisations.
If you could pay an outlaw motorcycle gang to keep all of those away from
I'd run with an outlaw motorcycle gang.
Probably have a fairly attractive proposition.
I think so. You know, I'd be open to that.
It'd be monetarily competitive.
I reckon it'd be pretty close. And you know, I mean, it sounds like we're taking the piss out of it, but I mean, realistically, both organisations.
That's a very big and very scary proposition.
Both styles of entity, though, they extort money out of you.
Using fear
and force as a tactic and as a weapon. And if you don't comply, we'll take your house, we'll stop you from eating, we'll lock you in a prison, or we'll beat the shit out of you, we'll drag you around at the back of our motorbike, whatever.
This is the whole thing. The system appears to be creating a massive amount of disenfranchised people who are now can't afford to live, can't afford to feed themselves, can't afford to home themselves.
Yeah.
So then you look to our leaders and they're clueless.
No, they know what they're talking about. I've never felt so inspired by certain leadership in my life.
That's the sad reality of it, isn't it? You know, wouldn't it be lovely to see someone who actually had some empathy for these people? And like, I used to smoke cigarettes. And I did it as a choice, and it wasn't a crutch. It was a crutch for me to some extent. But when you look at the figures of the people in Australia who actually smoke, it's the low socioeconomic people. It's the people with mental health
issues and ex-drug addicts or people.
And that's not stigmatising the people who are quite.
No, there's going to be three people who don't have any of those issues. You bastards saying that about us.
Yeah, I'm not mental health and I'm not low socio.
Whatever. But don't be so sensitive.
You know, when you actually look at the figures,
as a whole, there is evidence
the people who are least able to defend themselves being dictated to by the elites.
Yeah,
and they're actually being raped and pillaged and and
they're being diddied,
taxed into oblivion.
Yeah, for sure.
And
by these bloody fat, lazy, power-hungry, control-freak psychos.
You remember, and you will recall, because it was just disgusting, the photos of, was it Joe Hockey, and who was the other guy? Matthias Cormann, perhaps?
Probably. What were they?
Sitting outside Parliament.
On a balcony or whatever with their cigars or whatever it was.
Big $50 cigars.
Of course.
And just having a chat.
Aren't we kings? Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know. It was Joe. I think it might even have been someone from the opposition anyway. It was just bordering on disgusting.
Well, so I mean,
like you
know what? If everybody's doing well, I don't care. Celebrate your ass off. But we've got a working poor in this country.
Oh, and it's
we have people with full-time jobs.
If you're looking for a growth bills. If you're looking for a growth industry, it's working poor.
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah. It's you know, it's sad. I talk to far too many people sometimes. You know, who are working full-time jobs who can't pay their bills, or they're behind in their bills, or you know, like they're just I need to apply for more Centrelink help because you know Centrelink's basically got everyone over a barrel. Where if you earn too much, they take a little bit of help they give people away. You know, but they're determined to keep you in that working poor status despite what they tell you on the TV.
It's an extraordinarily difficult proposition for a young working family to push through that period where you need the assistance from.
Well, but you become they're creating a dependent
in the form of family stuff like that, and and there is a sweet spot there where it's almost disincentivizing getting a second job
it does absolutely. If you work two jobs, your second job should be completely tax-free.
Well, but
there you go. There's a Dean policy. Hang on, you better vote for the other guy again.
Well, I'd get a job doing 4 hours a week part-time, and that'd be my main job.
Yeah. Well, that's whatever.
So my second job, I do 80 hours.
We do not have.
Second job, I do 80 hours and not pay tax on.
Well, you know, like I hear those people, they jump up and down on the media and they crap on about, we need to tax the rich more, or we need to tax these companies more, or whatever. How about our government just stop spending like drunken fucking lunatics and wasting our money, pissing it up the wall,
One
And
of the
then-
big things,
and then
one of the
we'll
big
start
things coming
talking.
up this term at council is anyone who actually wants to propose any rate rises, they're going to have to justify to me first. Well, obviously there's plenty of money and there's no issues because we've had 4 codes of conduct that the rate
4 codes of conduct, 2 general managers, and a partridge in a pear tree.
The ratepayers are foot of the bill for that. We've had $63,000 worth of legal fees that council have expended trying to keep secret from the ratepayers. So,
and a pay increase for the councillors.
but obviously, council's flush.
Well, you must be. If you can afford two general managers, we're doing very
2
well.
general managers, 4 codes of conduct.
Allegedly.
Well, last year, and it was reported in September, or the reporting period finishes in September, for codes of conduct and the bill was about $30,000.
Yep.
The ratepayers had to foot for people to be indulged and bring codes of conduct against me.
Well, you've hurt people's feelings.
Yes, by having a Facebook page and having another councillor post abusive lies on my Facebook page.
Well,
how dare me?
Yes, sure. It's a good thing you're not on Twitter.
How dare me?
I mean, X now it's called.
Seriously, how dare me?
Mate, I get it. It's ridiculous. It's
like
completely farcical, the whole show.
Well, how can that be a code of conduct for me?
Mate, I still stand by it. I'd take the whole council chambers building in every state of Australia and turn them all into car parks and work from home. Give you 50 grand a year just to not show up. Go away, people. We don't need.
I think
we've got far too many government employees at every level. And I'd be happy to level all the state parliament stuff as well. They can all go. I've got no use.
What was the figure that they trotted out for the New South Wales public service? It was it 1 in 10 or 1 in 4?
Well, it'd be 1 in 4 sounds more realistic.
I reckon it was 1 in 10, which was massive.
1 in 10's huge. 1 in 4 is, like off the chart, window lickingly communist. And government doesn't create anything. They don't do anything. All they do is create jobs for the boys, feed themselves. And I watched that little period where we've managed to upset everyone over the last couple of months. And most people who are upset are people who get a really big, good, long drink for their household out of council. And I'm not saying they're good or bad people, right? Because most of them are quite nice people, generally speaking. I know they're mad at me at the moment, and that's fine. Whatever. But the people who seem most offended by us calling this out are all people whether it's their business gets an awful lot of council contracts, or their husband or wife has jobs within the council sphere, or you know what I mean? They're a direct beneficiary of said communism.
I'm certainly not a beneficiary of it.
No, it's hurt your business, but
it's hurt my business.
That's because you weren't tickling the right bottoms ingratiatingly as you're supposed to. But I get it because they're trying to protect their income or part of their income or part of their worldly, circle.
It's a part of the power that they wield.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
We hand out enough jobs, we build that support base.
Yeah, and then people become dependent on it, and then they become this force to be reckoned with.
It's like for me, it's just
we're making our own tyrants to stand over us.
Pretty much. Pretty much that's how it works. Dad was
so I turn around and I say, well, Jacket, and I'm going to take you on, and other people will pick up the tab or they won't.
Yep.
And they don't like that either.
No,
they hate that. But isn't that seems to be where Australia is as a nation and the world.
Mate, I've said it over and over. The war is not even.
No. This is a microcosm of what's going on
globally
when they're trying to basically take our independence away from us, our ability to. They want to globally control the food supply. They want to globally control whether you have a farting cow or
chickens have to be registered.
You're not allowed to drink raw milk. It's got to be put through the processes. It's got to come out of a Woolworths or a Coles in a plastic bottle.
Yes, and the bird flu is to scare everybody not having their own chickens because
that's right. Because
you may get bird flu, but I mean they're registering chickens now in the UK. Yes. If you want backyard chickens, you have to have them registered.
Yeah, and they're just disconnecting us from our
ability,
shelter, our food, and our
own self-sustainability, our own self-reliance, our own self-determination. We're becoming feedlot cattle in our own self-designed feedlot, run by our own species. It's farcical when you sit back and look at it.
And I don't know what the figures are, but I've got a feeling that the move to corporatisation has gained some speed in the last 10 to 15 years. When you consider the advances by the multinational franchises and the local homegrown corporates that have usurped a huge portion of the business sector in Australia, and basically just infiltrated, turned the screws, and saw off any of the small businesses. Look at the hardware sector and the lack of competition in that sector, and the lack of, Temora is a standout when you consider we've got two privately owned small businesses providing our
building supplies. Yeah, that's right.
Now, there's still plenty of people who'll go and get those resources from one of the other two major providers.
Yeah, sure.
But it's a duopoly. It's a bit like a Coles and Woolworths in the supermarket sector.
Absolutely.
How many small providers, how many fruit and veggie shops used to be commonplace?
Yeah. No, they've all been smushed into one. Butcher shops, the whole lot, all gradually being eaten up by mega corporates, and there's not a bloody real direct thing we can do about it on a macro scale. Micro scales, you can do what you can do.
Well, that's where the people have to actually start to
pardon me,
resist and to try to develop alternative communities that that exist outside that control,
outside the bubble.
And it was so expressed so blatantly during the COVID lockdowns, because they used people's incomes or their employment as a leverage to have them take a medical treatment, whether they wanted to or they didn't.
Absolutely.
And had these people been running their own small enterprises, they would have been able to make a decision at that enterprise level, whether or not they opted to, or how they opted to address the situation. They could have sat back and they could have analysed the data as it came, because there was a lot of indecision, and it could have been much worse than it was.
Oh,
you know what I mean? We have had illnesses globally throughout history, plagues and different.
None that had quite the marketing machine that the old COVID. The old Rona got a hell of a market.
Yeah, but the leverage that was able to be directed onto a large proportion of the population due to the corporatisation, which could have been diluted massively.
Yeah, if there was far more independent operators and people who weren't beholden to.
And I'll sit here.
BlackRock.
I've been in business for myself since 1990, and I've felt great pressure at different times. The compliance levels that small businesses are subjected to are off the charts.
Yeah,
it's absolutely outrageous, and it's clear that the our masters at a political level, who appear to be for sale to the global corporate interests,
of course,
are very happy to sell us out, and to ensure that we get barcoded and we are part of the machinery.
Yeah.
And we don't have any autonomy, and we don't have any free choice, and we don't direct our own lives.
People would be very surprised to learn that I didn't allow myself to be barcoded in any way, shape, or form during the COVID debacle.
Yeah, and look,
and I'm very, very thankful that our American cousins
and you were in a position, and you were in a position where you could.
Well,
and some people,
some people took the risks to be in that position.
But some people had no choice.
Absolutely. You've never heard me come out, and I know a lot of people do it online, going, "You bastards!" and those who did or those who didn't, they're all at each other's throats. Well, you went and got it, and you're a bastard, and you're whatever now. And I've tried really hard not to get into any of those particular fights, because I know it was probably the most legitimate badass government guns to people's heads globally in history,
and it was Australian level. I've never seen anything like
nothing like it in Australian. You know, the only thing I'm still convinced, the only reason that we're not all in feedlots is there's so many freaking Americans with guns.
Yeah.
If the Americans didn't have their Second Amendment, that's why they're so desperate to take it away from them. Because I mean, there's far more Americans with guns than there is in the American military, and we know how big that machine is.
Mm.
There are more private citizens with firearms in America than there are in the US military, and I'm convinced that the only reason was because there's just enough yokels over there and you know, hardcore Americans with their firearms going, well, that's a solid no. Won't be doing that.
But even in Australia, where we've got much lower levels of gun ownership, once the people decided to stand up and represent their own rights, they didn't need firearms.
No, but
they marched en masse in Melbourne
absolutely.
and they disobeyed the directions, and it collapsed. It collapsed.
The harder people push back, the better. I mean,
I could not believe how quickly it collapsed once there was the slightest amount of resistance was shown.
Yeah.
You know, up until that time, there'd been massive amounts of compliance.
Yeah.
But
tyrants are cowards at their core. They're cowards.
They rolled over in record time, and you don't need guns. You just need to stand up and say, no, we're not putting up with this rubbish, and unite as a group and express
if there's
that.
enough of us all getting the shit beaten out of us or whatever. I mean, a friend of mine's still in court down in Melbourne over he allegedly knocked out a Victorian police officer in one of those melees. I say allegedly, I wasn't there. I don't know what. I don't know if he did or didn't knock the guy out. And I don't recommend knocking police out as a general rule.
No,
but
no,
when they're being tyrannical lunatics. I just said the clip the other day, and again, I got no issues directly one-on-one with cops. I've got issues. I've had run-ins with some that I absolutely consider corrupt cops. But did you see the clip the other day where some bloke who allegedly attacked the cops, but the only footage in the TV is 3 cops beating the shit out of this guy? It looked like a Rodney King moment. And I'm watching it, and now the story's going, like the story of the reporters wasn't matching the words at all, because one cop has come in and he's got a baton and whatever, and 2 are holding old mate down. I don't know what sort of psycho he is. He could be a complete psycho, whatever. Point is, there's 3 cops literally beating the shit out of this bloke down in Victoria. And the story's going, this man's attacking police. You guys watching the same footage I'm watching? Because I think we must have missed the start of the show. I'd like to see the 5 minutes precluding that. Because
from what I've seen, I wouldn't. I feel great empathy towards anyone who's serving in the military,
for sure.
Anyone who's serving in the police, anyone who's serving
hospitals.
In the ambos. I believe that the parameters that they've been given to work in now are so narrow.
Yeah.
And their leadership at the highest levels is so weak,
that
they will throw them under the bus at the first hint of a problem. And I don't believe that they're given enough support to do their roles in what can only be described as a extraordinarily high pressure, very quick decision making,
for sure,
situation. And there's no way known, like when you're under the pump and you've got to make a split-second decision, you get it right, you get it wrong. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, mate, look, I'm not throwing the coppers out. Well, they may well have been. The guy could have been well in. I got no idea, right?
You don't know. But
what I saw from the story was, here's 3 coppers beating the shit out of a bloke, and the story was, this bloke's attacking the coppers.
But it was on mainstream media.
Of course it was. So it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to believe.
No.
But there's plenty of people who just sit there and suck that up, like lolly water, going, well, look at this. Look at this.
Bullshit was delicious. Can I have some more?
Look at this man who's got 3 coppers on top of him beating the shit out of him, who's attacking them.
Yeah.
It's like he's face down on the concrete. I'm not sure he's attacking much at all. You know, and again, it's not a dig at the coppers necessarily, but it just shows how easily the machine's manipulated. The TV tells half truth, and that's when it's on an honest day.
Well,
if they're having an honest day, they're telling half truths. If, you know, some coppers are shitheads and some are fantastic,
But that's like society.
That's like society. Like, I mean, you know, we've done that. I know a few politicians that aren't scumbags.
But can you imagine?
Small number.
But can
but
you
I know
imagine
a couple?
That's before the next 5 years when they can artificially doctor video. They can put your head on.
I can do that now. I have this. I have the technology. I can do that shit. I'm
Yes.
not great at it, but
They can
I
put
could,
your
I can
voice
do it.
on recordings. They can
And do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. This clan elbow's got this
and then they can
misinformation.
spread that. Like it makes propaganda Pete look like an absolute.
Oh, he's an amateur.
He's an elblader.
Absolutely.
In this space, if he wants to destroy, like the machine is out there now, the technology is out there to do a proper job.
Oh, for sure.
Like he's been that inept and so obvious that his whole process has basically
Pardon me.
landed back in his lap. And he's sort of been covered in his own poo.
Yes, well.
It's blown up in his face a little bit. You know what I mean? But there are people out there who, if they want to, like, the thing that I find interesting is I subscribe to a non-mainstream media news service.
Yeah, right.
Michael West Media.
Yep.
Now I pay $10 a month.
Yep.
And that doesn't give me access to extra media. The same, you can access the same stuff and you don't have to pay.
Yeah, okay.
But I pay so that they will
continue to operate.
Report because they bring.
You like the fact that you feel like he's giving an honest.
Well, he doesn't have to have advertising
on
his platform, so he's not beholden to anyone, and he's therefore the arm can't be twisted so much.
Yeah.
They've got their own political
leanings,
views,
sure,
and stuff like that, and whether I agree with that or not is another whole different argument.
Yeah.
But I will pay to at least have an alternative.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, there are other alternatives out there. The main, as soon as I think that perhaps that media source has been corrupted, or if they're not, you know, if they've been bought, or if they're not reporting it as clearly or as
honestly as you think,
then I'll be pulling me money and they can row their own boat. There's another guy that I watch often called Shane Dowling.
Right.
And he reports on a lot of the higher level stuff. And he pulls no punches, and he really gets down to the nitty-gritty. So thank goodness for these platforms
that allow it.
Well,
for now.
But seriously, when you consider the level of character destruction that was attempted against me in the last 3 years, with 4 codes of conduct and multiple news stories directed against me and misinformation being channeled, like, isn't it extraordinary where we've got the Australian government bringing in a misinformation bill, and here we are, they won't address the misinformation. And would you believe? Look, anyway, the point is, we need an alternative media. We need the freedom of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it comes down back to Albo's misinformation bill. Would you believe that the basis of his bill, or the watchdog that he is intending to empower, is ACMA? Now, ACMA are what would you call them? They're like the who did you get your license out of the cornflakes packet? Like they're the cornflakes packet where
they are useless.
Where Tem FM got their license out of.
Yeah, they are useless.
And if
absolutely useless. I was on the phone to them last week.
ACMA are
absolutely useless. You know,
and they're going to be the
the
gatekeeper of the misinformation, disinformation.
All these people should be arguably thrown out of helicopters. What? Sorry, I didn't say that out loud, did I?
No. That's the level of BS that these wankers in Canberra are wasting our money even discussing.
It's all about control. They want to control.
They shouldn't even be discussing that. They shouldn't be discussing
the fact that they have the audacity to think that they're important enough to tell people what they can and can't think
and
is
talk about it.
disgusting. George Orwell's 1984 was not a fucking blueprint.
Yes. Well,
Animal
we've seen
Farm.
it.
Animal Farm was not a blueprint.
Propaganda Pete's about 30 years too late because the papers have lost their influence.
Well, that's right.
Newsflash, front page next week, Pete. Papers no longer relevant. Have to actually report real news.
Fuck. It's pretty much only there as a glorified community newsletter. So you do whatever you want with your little rag.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we better wrap it up.
I think we'll wrap it up and fairly, cruisy one tonight. But I think
it's pretty relaxed. But we've been.
I think we both need it. It's been fairly intense the last few months.
Yeah.
It's been pretty full on.
But
I'm going to throw out. Yeah,
life's good.
Life's fantastic. Life's look really good. I'm back running again. Can't quite tell you. I haven't trimmed right up, but I'm back. I've been getting my K's in.
Good.
Been getting my K's in. So if anybody who's not paying attention, the link for the charity that I've been doing, where we've cracked the $500 mark, aiming for $2,000 by the end of the month. Again, I've never asked anybody for any money for political campaigns. Obviously, sometimes people would donate to political campaigns, but I've never been like, oh, pay me big, whatever, follow the link, send some money into Bears for Hope, the charity for miscarriages and infant deaths. Sorry, it's a pretty good cause. And, I figured I'd run my fat ass half marathon just to sort of so people could go do it. And as I've said a million times, if you hate me, donate. Prove it. Prove that it's not done. Do something good with your bad attitude. Those who love what we're up to, great, fantastic. $5, $10, whatever it is. Every little bit helps this really good charity. And on the 2nd of November, I'm going to do this run. So that'll be interesting.
We've got stuff going on everywhere. But I'm a signwriter by trade, and I spent today on the brushes.
Yeah.
Here I am, flat out seeing, and I've got grey hair, and I'm just shouting myself a heap of brand new signwriting brushes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm telling you, I've had a fat day.
Yeah.
Brushing this pretty schmick looking sign.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of really nice projects coming up, and it's life's good. Like just getting back to the roots.
There's plenty of good stuff going on,
Yeah, there's so much satisfaction when you actually sit there and you put a day's work into something, and you can sit back and you go, wow, that looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Without blowing my own trumpet, but it was just interesting. You think they're made with animal hair and wood.
Yeah,
all those funny things. They're not vegan brushes.
Not vegan brushes. That's outrageous.
But it was just a good fun day, and I'll have some photos of those projects coming up shortly.
We got to do the good and the bad. I'm happy to report on the negative stuff, but I'm also happy to showcase the positives.
We might look a little bit cooked, as though it's getting to us, but it's not the case.
No. I'm cooked because I was up at 4 o'clock this morning delivering parcels.
So we're cooked because we're living our lives and we're busy people. We've got businesses to run, we've got families to interact with, we've got all these other things going on. Any of this stuff is at a very high level, and I think we've demonstrated, both Dean and myself, over the trip, the interesting and fairly lively trip that we've been on for this short period of time, that we don't let this shit get to us, and we'll take on all comers. So
absolutely. And again, if you can put some positive energy into some positive things, do it. To those who love us and think that we're doing a great job, we get messages all week. I know I do.
Oh yes.
So there's a lot of love there. We get some really good.
For anyone who wants to take us on, you're on the list, and we'll get to you due course.
You guys are great, but keep wrapping, packing, stacking. Get yourself a lunch. We'll get around to you as necessary. Yeah. But everyone have a great week. Again, donate to that charity if you can. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back next Thursday night, as always, here at Dean and Irv's Spin Doctors. So have a great evening.
Catch us.